All right, so often in research, you end up with data that would be considered valuable, but it's not really in a form that you can do any kind of summarization with. And you need summarization to take a lot of data and bring it to where it really means something. This is a perfect example here of this kind of situation. You have, well, I have, comments from 3 different sections of a course. And in those 3 different sections of the course, each student has the opportunity to make a free-form comment about what they consider to be the best about the course, and then what they would suggest as far as changes to how the course is being offered. So there's no real control over what students say, and there shouldn't be, because you want them to free-form say whatever is on their mind and heart, so to speak. But obviously, you have to prioritize. I mean, just even glancing at this list, you can imagine as a professor how daunting it would be to try and accommodate everything that everyone is saying. Actually, you know exactly what is normally done. Human nature tells you what it is. In fact, cliches will tell you what we do. If you have heard the term, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, that refers to the idea of frequency. In fact, physically, squeaky sound is one with a high frequency. And sure enough, in research using statistics, one of the most important ways that you can use comments is if you can track their frequency. Simply put, if one particular aspect of the course comes up repeatedly in the comments, then that is an area to focus on, whether in the positive or in the negative. So if we see here that it says I learned, sort of says I learned, typo, lots of functions of Excel, and it can help easily calculate some data. All right, so what we want to do is try and say, how can I summarize that in a way that will parallel, in essence, the comments that other people are making. So we're going to take this data, we're going to copy and paste it, and we're going to move it into a situation where we collate everything from all the classes. So I'm going to click here, and here I have collected in a list. Column G is actually the first portion of what can be seen. And what it simply does is it alphabetizes, to start with, all of the different comments. Now, does that mean everything is grouped together? No, but it makes it easy to take a look at everything that has been said about what is the best part of the course. And so what it allows me to do is just read through these until I become somewhat familiar with some of the themes that are going on. And then I will add these 2 columns. I have 2 columns because in this case people typically end up saying more than just the one thing. So here's the title, the raw responses from all 3 sections of the course. In other words, all of my raw responses about what's best about the course. What I'm going to suggest is that these are compliments about Excel concepts, and then about the usefulness of the skills being learned, and then this one here, being able to improve my understanding of Excel and learn how to use it efficiently. I'm coding that as improved use of Excel, and so on down here. One point here, somebody says, I really like how I could go to the professor's office to ask questions. Well, there may be various aspects of that, and maybe I should be more detailed here, but for me that's just kind of the way I am as a professor. So somebody says that's one of the things that they like. Now, maybe I should have gone into more coding, like more specific coding. Perhaps I should have said access to professor, and that would be a valuable one. The trade-off is the more specific you get in the coding, then the less you can group the results to show that something is coming up frequently. So it's a trade-off, and there's no hard and fast rule for this. It has to do with what you see in the information and how you can pull it out in ways that are actionable, or at least is something that gives understanding. All right, so having moved over now, what we see is that here are my list of coded responses. And if you look at this file online, you will see that there are some other explanations of what's going on here. These are then going to be combined. I'm going to combine them, and I'm going to sort them. So this is the complete list of everything that's in these two columns. And it's then sorted to lump together the coding of these comments. So raw comments, coded to up to 2 codings from those comments, and then a copy paste sort of the contents of these 2 columns to this. Now, of course, once I have this, you all know what we can do with that is that we can create a pivot table. But the offline, you will see that I have taken the completed list, and here are the items themselves. So I'm using them here as reference labels, and then here I do the frequency with which that comes up. So for example, assignments comes up twice, and then the basic use of Excel comes up 1, 2, 3, 4. It says 4 times. So there you are. Basic use of Excel comes up 4 times, and data to decisions comes up twice. So that then is an ability to summarize the different topics. Now, I can always come back and drill down and see what people were referring to back in the raw comments. Again, because I've got this reference here as to what was going on or what was coded and how it was coded. I don't throw that out. I keep it for future reference. Okay, so then the contents of the frequency table can be pasted and formatted nicely, and if you want, you can start to look at the different kinds of things that are talked about. And sure enough, then, once I have these coded comments, in terms of what's best about the course, you can see that 30% of the comments were about the usefulness of the Excel skills. 17% were about improved use of Excel. If we look over when I coded the improvement ones, which I tended to code with a lot more granularity because they're things I want to take action on. So in my teaching approach, I actually have teaching approach 3 different sub-points under that. People think I need less content. 2 people said that. Some thought it should be more conceptual, so there were 2 of those. Some thought I should be more organized. 2 commented about that. But as far as what really comes through, there were 18 people. 25% of the comments had some comment about going at a slower pace. That is something that I have to look at and address because of the frequency with which it came up. Okay, so now you understand, first of all, how coding is done, and then what can be done with comments once they are coded. And again, if you isolate an area, like for example, slower pace, and you say, okay, that is an area, you can always go back to the actual comments themselves and go in and say sort on this and find the comments themselves and see if there's any other nuggets in the raw comments that will be worth looking at. That, then, my friends, is coding of comments.